Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by HipChat. Bring your team to life with persistent team chat, file sharing, and integrations with the software you use. A team communication tool built for business. HipChat is free forever, and HipChat Plus, including video and screen sharing, is free for 6 months for the first 1,000 listeners at hipchat.com/twist. And by Envision. Find out why so many hot startups are using Envision to prototype, present, and collaborate on design in real time. Sign up for a 90-day free trial today at envisionapp.com/twist.
Hey everybody. It's another episode of This Week in Startups, and it's a timely one. Twitter just bought a company called Periscope that lets you do live streaming video, and the founder, Kayvon, is on the program today, less than a week after he sold the company. And you know they were in a dogfight with another company, Meerkat, which has a very similar product. All of this in this episode is discussed in detail, including the dog race and the fight between the two companies and it being overblown in the media and selling the company before the company was even launched. It's an amazing episode, a great founder and a great product. And it's kind of the future of Twitter. Video, live video. It's going to change everything. Stick with us.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah, we ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Startups. And yes, it's been a big week for startups. We've had a lot of buzz, a lot of companies getting funded, and as sometimes happens, companies get bought. And one of the surprises of this recent South by Southwest festival was a dogfight between two very similar services. One of them called Meerkat, you probably heard, and the other Periscope, I'm sure you heard of them. And right in the thick of this, we find out that Twitter has bought Periscope, and Periscope has been going supernova. And we're lucky enough today to have the founder of Periscope on the program. His name is Kayvon Beykpour. Kayvon, welcome to This Week in Startups.
Thank you.
So congratulations. You got bought by Twitter and then launched your startup. This seems to be in the opposite order of how things usually occur. Explain to us first, what is Periscope, and then why did Twitter buy it?
Sure. We think Periscope is... sorry, into the microphone?
Yeah, a little bit.
We think Periscope is the best way to start or watch a live video broadcast. And it's evolved quite a bit. We've been working on it for about a year, actually just over a year now, as of February.
Okay.
And you're right, we were acquired by Twitter before we launched. We were acquired in January of this year. And to answer your question, we were pretty heads down building our product, and it was evolving over time, and got to a point where we were super excited about what we were doing. You know how startups go, like you don't really know what you're building. We had a vision, but the actual manifestation of that vision was evolving on a day-by-day basis. And we just sort of got to a point in our development where we knew what we had felt right. And that was right around the time when Twitter found us, and we started talking to them. And they made it clear that they were interested in acquiring us, and that we had those conversations, and eventually just realized that our vision was really aligned with Twitter's vision. And when we got super comfortable with the fact that what they wanted was to let us just keep doing what we were doing, but just give us the resources to do it better, faster, stronger, it started sounding super interesting.
But you didn't want to test the waters and see how big this could get.
Well, I mean,
that's got to be a hard decision, right? As an entrepreneur, like, hey, you spent a year building it, like, maybe we want to see how it does in the open market. It'd be like selling your house before it goes on the market. Somebody puts a preemptive offer in. Which must have been a hell of an offer.
Some people do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is...
Was it an amazing offer?
I think it was pretty good. Yeah.
Was it good or amazing?
I mean, it's subjective, but
yeah. How many people working on the team?
So the time that we were acquired, there was 5 of us.
Okay.
Now
you raised angel funding?
We raised 1.5 from a bunch of angels, from institutional investors.
Was there a lead investor?
No. It was a collection of...
Who was the largest investor in that round?
So a number of investors were at a similar level: Bessemer Ventures, Google Ventures, Founder Collective.
So you had some notable people in there.
There was institutional ones that everyone's heard of. There was some friends and family. There was some people in between, some angel investors.
You didn't have a lead investor.
We did not, no.
So that means in terms of selling it on the dynamic, am I reading correctly that there wasn't somebody to say, hey, I've invested money in this, let's see how far we can take it?
I'm not sure even if, I can't speak to other startups. I'd imagine that even if we had a lead investor who would have given a majority of our round, I think that at the seed stage, it still would have been a conversation. I mean, it was a conversation with our investors anyway. I'm not sure how those dynamics would have changed much if we had a lead investor, but...
And what was the conversation with your investors? You said, hey, we have an opportunity to exit before we launch. Did all of them universally say sell, or did they all say, hey, split decision, maybe you should put it in the market and get the price to go up, or see how big this could be?
I'm sure this process differs from company to company. For us, we had a subset of our investors that we were super involved with, who were we had sort of constant communication with, and we had a group of other investors who we all had mutual respect for each other, but they were just less active in the process, and so there was no formal vote or anything like that.
Yeah, that's kind of like that because you had a party round, as we call it in the Valley. No one person's the lead. Nobody has a board seat.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a really early stage seed round, right? We just raised money from investors who really liked us and thought that we could be onto something. Yeah. And so because of that, I think you call it a party round or whatever you want to call it. But
that's what people call it typically. Is no lead is a party round. I mean, it sounds derogatory, but I just think what they really mean is a seed round or an angel round
for which there's no lead investor.
When there's no lead investor, people call it party round. I think it's kind of derogatory, party round, nobody's taking it seriously. But I don't think that's exactly.
It certainly didn't. I mean, you read about the party rounds. When we were raising money, it didn't feel like a party round because it wasn't an easy process, right?
Right. It wasn't hey, we're having a party, come over. It was hey,
no, I mean,
we want to build a video streaming service for mobile. What was people's response when you pitched them on that? Because this has been tried before and it didn't work.
Yeah. I mean, well, I would say that our fundraising process was not it didn't feel like a party round because it wasn't a slam dunk. We had a lot of no's. And at the time, we don't have it's easy to look back in retrospect and be here's this awesome thing that we think we've built. What do you think? At the time, it was much less formed. We had a vision, but the manifestation of it was super informal. And so that's why the fundraising process was as challenging as other people experience when they go try and raise money, for a seed round.
And then those investors, what do? They double their money, triple their money, kind of, or if it sells that quickly?
Well, I mean, we haven't released numbers on the actual sort of acquisition, what it was, but I think all of our investors did very well.
Okay, so they probably doubled it or tripled it or something. Or maybe even more. Yeah, that's pretty good. So let me ask you a frank question. I saw this technology tried, Quick. And Ustream.
Justin TV.
They
live stream.
Were they all mobile? Well, I know Quick was mobile.
It depends on how you define mobile, because Justin TV was a backpack and some equipment in it, which is mobile.
Yeah, but it was a PC. But Quick was specifically designed exactly like Meerkat and also Periscope, your product, in that it had the text would come up on the stream, which seems to be the key device, right? People are chatting with you. And we used that on a Nokia N95 back in the day. Yeah. And that was, I got that because I remember when I got my Tesla Roadster, that's when we actually went out, Robert Scoble and I, we made some videos of it. It came out terrible. The videos were one video every second. Yeah. So is the reason why this works now and it didn't work then the 4G networks?
I think a lot of things have changed.
Yeah.
One is the iPhone exists, right? Justin TV didn't work for a lot of reasons, I think, but the fact that the iPhone exists, and I mean not just the hardware, but the software that allows developers like us to do, I think, really amazing things that before weren't possible. That's one. LTE, 4G, 3G, huge factor. Push notifications as a concept did not exist.
That's right.
Push notifications solve the synchronicity problem, which is crucial, right? How do you know I'm live right now? What are the chances that my following can watch what I'm producing if they have to like serendipitously discover my content. The push solves that problem.
Right.
And the mobile networks are crucial because they actually let us do what we think is reasonably low latency video so that you can actually have an interactive conversation where your followers are,
maybe 10 seconds behind, 5 seconds behind. What's the latency? Because that's the one thing.
Yeah.
The only thing I hear people complain about now, because back then it didn't work. People were like, it doesn't work. The two things I hear right now is, number one, the conversation goes by too quickly, so it's hard to keep track of, which I can attest to. It's like a little small chat window.
Right.
But I think that's solvable. You just make the text go further up. And the other one is latency.
So with Periscope, it's a range. It can be as low latency as 2.5 seconds, and it can be as high latency as 25 seconds. And the reason that range exists is because we try and optimize based on the conditions. If there are 50 people watching you, we think that that experience for all 50 people can and should be super interactive in real time, because you can reasonably, as a host or a broadcaster, you can respond to 50 people commenting every once in a while.
Sure.
So we make the latency 2.5 seconds. That may change if your network is bad, maybe it's 5 seconds or 7 seconds, but it can be as low as 2.5 seconds. If Ellen DeGeneres is broadcasting and 2,000 people are watching, that's not going to be as interactive of a two-way experience. And so pretty much all of those viewers, with the exception of, let's say, the first 100, some arbitrary number, have a higher latency experience because we can guarantee them a better viewing experience if we make it higher latency.
So you tell them, hey, listen, she's not going to be reading your chat anyway. Let's buffer and give them a better experience.
It's not that we buffer it. It's that they connect to the stream over a different protocol, which is a higher latency protocol. It can be as low as 15 seconds, but as high as 30 seconds, which is more traditional to a Ustream, live stream, hang with Meerkat, whatever.
So what are those two different protocols then?
So HLS is a very common protocol that you probably are using with Ustream.
Yep.
And then RTMP is another protocol we use for the super low latency side.
Got it. And what's the difference between those two? There's the latency is one, they're just two different...
Well, they're just different. They're different protocols completely that call for... HLS is, there's a lot of good stock support for, like if you're building an iPhone app, it's pretty easy to piggyback off of Apple APIs to do an HLS stream that you can then customize and tune, just like we have, to like bring it down from 60 seconds to be 15 seconds latency. But they're just two different protocols that are used in varying degrees for various tools. All right, we had this like combination approach because we wanted to support the super low latency experience.
Okay, when we get back from commercial break, very important.
Oh, you got commercials here?
Of course. I think I afford this like $3,000 Howard Stern microphone. I mean, this is... All right, listen. Let me explain something to you, Kayvon. This is professional broadcasting.
Yeah, I can tell.
This is a professional broadcasting
You got a $2,000 microphone. You gave me the shit.
$3,000 microphone.
Can I swear on here?
You can curse as much as you want.
Great.
It's a $300 or $400
I don't know who your sponsors
is a decent
are.
microphone.
Are we talking Johnson & Johnson? Or are we talking
That's a great sponsor. You're about to find out. But here's the thing. Professional broadcasters, professional microphones, professional cameras, not this rinky-dink iPhone stuff, all right?
Rinky-dink
iPhone stuff. That's what I was telling everybody. Like, I'm a professional broadcaster.
Your iPhone costs more than this microphone.
It does, actually, but not this microphone. But actually, that's a very good question we'll get when we get back, which is,
giving you the layup here.
Well, the podcasters versus the sort of what I'll call serious broadcasters versus the casual broadcaster, and where's the line going to be when we get back from the commercial break, which is for HipChat, which I'm in HipChat right now. HipChat is awesome. Email is awful. We all know that. You're constantly getting on those reply all wars, and IM is problematic because there is no integration with other tools. I get all of my RSS feeds, Twitter stuff, integrated into HipChat. So, as an example, when Jacob and Jackie post the show to the RSS feed, everybody in the company who's in the launch chat room gets at here, we just posted the latest episode. When we put tweets in, it automatically goes in there. You get the idea. All of this makes it very easy for us to stay in communication, and it keeps everything private and searchable. So I don't have to worry about using iMessage or something where I can't search my archives, and then somebody leaves the company and we had a really good discussion about something and it's not in the archive. So if I do, hey, let's search for Launch Festival, let's search for Periscope and see when we talked about them first in the chat room, boom, HipChat has all of that in there, the search archive, that is. And it integrates with Jira, GitHub, Bitbucket, and 50 more apps. It is obviously native on iOS and Android. You'd expect that. But also, they have a native Mac app, which is wonderful because it doesn't, it doesn't mess with your browser. You have your own dedicated Mac app, and they do that for Windows and Linux as well. Clients include people like Dropbox, Netflix, and of course, This Week in Startups and Inside.com. We love it because it's free forever for the regular service. And then if you want the Plus service, which has video and screen sharing, that's going to be free for the first 1,000 listeners at hipchat.com/twist, hipchat.com/twist. We love it. We use it. We use persistent chat rooms, and we use these persistent chat rooms at our events too. So we'll create like Launch Scale and other conference rooms so that people can obviously chat at our events. It's a really, really robust and great product. We love it here at This Week in Startups. Okay, welcome back to This Week in Startups. My guest is Kayvon Beykpour, and he is KVZ on the Twitter.
KAYVZ.
KAYVZ. KVZ. Caves. Is that like your hip hop name? KVZ? I like KVZ.
Does it sound like a hip hop name?
It kind of KVZ does.
I had a
KAYVZ.
I had a substitute teacher in elementary school that thought my name was spelled K-VON. Way cooler than my real name.
You ever see that?
Key and Peele?
Key and Peele?
Yeah. Hey, Aaron.
Aaron. Yeah. Don't make me Aaron. God, that's the best. If you haven't seen This Week in Startups audience, please go type in Key and Peele. Aaron.
There we go. Now we're pumping HipChat and Key and Peele. It's great. You should start working with Comedy Central.
Absolutely. No, we all the good products. Okay, anyway, listen. Here's the thing. I want to talk about two things. Number one is the Meerkat.
The Meerkat.
The Meerkat.
The definitive Meerkat.
The definitive Meerkat. Now, here's the thing.
The animal or the startup?
The startup. We're going to talk about both. The startup. We're going to talk about the startup. So about a month before you guys come out, Meerkat pops its head up.
Literally.
See that, huh? What I did there?
like what you did there.
And Meerkat is essentially the same exact product. How do two of the same exact products launch at the same time? Because I don't actually know any of the history other than I'm getting spammed by Meerkat stuff ridiculously. And when I logged into the app, and now I'm starting getting, because I'm a super router on Twitter or other social networks, got a lot of followers, I follow a lot of people, I was getting just slammed, bang, 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 by my friends join Meerkat, all this stuff, and then I hear Meerkat gets banned on Twitter. I don't know the whole history of it. But how did two products come out at the same month that are so similar? How did that occur?
I don't think that's particularly...
They stole it from you? You stole it from them? How did two people came up with the same idea at the same time? No, you both stole it from Kik? What's going on here?
So I have a few thoughts on this. Yeah. First of all, I just don't think the world should be that surprised. Like, this isn't the first time that multiple folks have approached similar ideas with different execution.
Of course.
I mean, Instagram Path, like there's just numerous examples. There was no relationship at all or insight, I think, between us and Meerkat. I mean, this is what I'll say. I mean, we never thought we would be first to market because we just weren't, right? Livestream, Ustream, Hangwith, Bamboozer. I mean, the list goes on of companies who have done live streaming products before that we've looked at, we've used, we've learned from.
Been inspired from, sure.
Yeah. Meerkat also was around in the form of their predecessor, Yevo, which we've used and seen before. I think the fact that Meerkat and we launched around the same time was pure circumstance, pure serendipity, and particularly serendipitous and funny. I think that the metaphors that both of our products use are very similar. Like the Meerkat pops up and looks around, and the Periscope pops up and looks around, and it's just like comically serendipitous that was the case.
It is bizarre. I never thought about that when you have both of them are like popping their head up.
Yeah. I think it just speaks to the fact that there are a lot of things that make live streaming more tenable right now as a concept. And
we talked about that before, the 4G.
Yeah, and so it's natural that a lot of people who are in this space are thinking about tools that should exist, tools that are underserved in the market right now. And so I think it's great that's the case. Like, I would never expect...
Is there some beef between the companies? Is there some like ill will or bad will between you and them? Not at all.
I don't think so. I mean, I haven't spoken... I haven't met Ben in person. He seems like a super awesome guy that just is focused on his product as he should be. And it's so easy for people to get caught up in the press. And frankly, I think the media perpetuates this way more than any of the companies do. We're just focused on building an awesome product. I think there may be even more companies that they will definitely be more companies that enter this space. And so we wouldn't actually get anything done if we spent all of our time thinking about other people.
Right.
So no, there's certainly no ill will between the companies. We're just both trying to do our thing.
It is interesting how the media gets crazy about this stuff because they need to have something to write about.
Right.
And
it's like there isn't enough work to do, They just have
they have a beast to feed, which is they need page views. They're desperate. And so they take everything and they make it into a huge hullabaloo. A brouhaha, if you will.
Brouhaha, yeah.
And it becomes total shenanigans and mishigosh. It's crazy.
A mishigosh.
A little bit.
Is it Yiddish?
It's a Yiddish thing.
Okay.
I'm a member of the tribe. Anyway, here's the thing. I had the same thing happen to me because I invested in Circa. I had done the launch ticker, which was summarizing the news. Then I saw Circa. I said, hey, this is interesting. I'll put a little bit of money into it through an Angelo syndicate. Boom. Then I did Inside, which was also like the launch ticker, but they're kind of similar. They're both mobile news. And my God, everybody was like trying to make a mountain out of molehill. You invested in this company, then you created a competitor. It was like, no, I created the launch ticker. They created their product. Then I created another product. That product was well underway before the other one happened, but who cares? Let's just go to town with it. It's pretty annoying, isn't it? The media is annoying.
I mean, I think annoying is... It depends. Like I'm not annoyed. I think it's unfortunate in some ways and fine in other ways. It's unfortunate because, like, I'm sure Meerkat has clearly thought about the space deeply, right? These guys have been working on a product for literally years, and they're just trying to do their thing, and we're also trying to do our thing. And so I think it's perfectly fine and fair for other people to talk about it and compare the two. But the turning it into a dogfight kind of seems silly to me because it's like,
You know what the great part about it is, though? They're talking about you. Yeah. That's the best part. So if they're all talking about you, you have the Periscope angle? Go ahead, show me the Periscope angle. Oh, there it is. Look, there you are on Periscope. They pulled it up. It is like I've done like a Meerkat, I've done a Periscope. It is a very interesting thing now that Twitter is the backbone of it. Because in these other services, we literally used to email people with Quick,
right,
and say, hey, we're doing a Quick stream. We would email everybody, or Ustream would email everybody that's firing up a stream. But there's something about the Twitter integration, isn't there?
Well, I think it speaks to the power and the relevance of Twitter in the context of live. Like, Twitter is the closest thing the world has had to a live platform. It's not live video streaming. It's in the form of 140 characters, obviously, but it is the pulse of what the world is thinking and saying right now, which is why we got excited about this potential partnership with them when we first started talking to them, and why even independent companies like Meerkat have the natural inclination to want to use Twitter as the syndication platform or the identity platform for that matter.
But not Facebook. Why not Facebook? It's not real time enough?
I think people's perception and usage of Facebook is just different. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to this as a user of both, I presume. But Facebook is not where I go. Even if you remember when you did use Facebook, it's just not where I went to get like real-time news.
No, it's just always, you know what I find annoying? It's always the same post up top. If you come back one day, the next day you'll have the same post up there because people keep commenting or liking it. Yeah. And it's like, I understand this person had a baby. Enough.
Right. I think other Color used Facebook as a distribution channel. It's not like it's not a far-fetched idea, but it's just not like between the two. I think it's an obvious choice.
It's an obvious choice for real-time news, and this will become quite effective in the next time we have, I don't know, some international incident or, Yeah,
I mean, we've already
protests.
seen it. The day we launched, Periscope was used to, I'm sure a lot of tools were used, but one of the first Periscopes I remember seeing in the craziness of launch day was the explosion that happened in New York and the fire that ensued.
Some Williamsburg building or something.
Yeah, I mean, we've had people periscoping voting stations in Nigeria during the elections. Like, it's just been...
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking about like the Egypt revolution or, Tiananmen Square or the Mike Brown shooting. I mean, all this tragic stuff going on, or inspirational, depending on how you look at it. Some of these revolutions are inspiring. Like, these things will be broadcast on, a live stream.
I believe so.
Now, let me ask you this. I know the Meerkat guys got kind of shut down by sucking down the graph off of Twitter, which is a technical term for basically pulling down all your friends, which you're not allowed to do. And that created a little bit of micro controversy. The founder actually doesn't seem to have a problem with it. He understands. But they let anybody who replies in the app, it automatically gets syndicated out as a tweet. So when we get back from commercial break, I want you to explain why that's a problem, or if it's too spammy or not, in your opinion, because you don't do that, and why you made that different, very important product decision. And speaking of products, I make my products. Like, guys, if I nail the transition, can everybody not laugh in the control room at how awesomely I do it?
That was so smooth, that transition. It's like people don't even know that you're about to pump another product.
Absolutely. And then if everybody starts laughing and cackling, oh, it's like, how am I supposed to keep a straight face? But listen, you will keep a straight face if you use Envision app. I just told you. Kayvon.
No, I think Envision's a great product.
Envision is...
Maybe I should talk about it. It'd be less cheesy that
Listen,
way.
As two visionaries, we love Envision.
Wow. I see
We're
what you did
in
there.
the vision of Envision. And do you use Envision?
We're so hip that we like chatting about Envision as a great app. You know?
Absolutely. It's hip to chat about Envision.
Now, I'll cut you some slack if you
Whoa, careful there.
Sorry, I said it. He didn't say it.
Somebody get this guy a show. All right, hold on a second. Everybody pause for a second, and let's talk about Envision app. I use it all the time because you get to turn all your beautiful designs into an easy-to-use link. You send that link to your investor, to your staff, to your partners. They load the link. They can put these mock-ups and designs on their phone as a icon, as a little app. It looks like an app. Then you click on it, it's actually loading a web page, but you get to see your design in the native location. So when you're iterating on design, then you can make notes and you can see actually what the product looks like. A lot of people who are applying to places like Y Combinator, Techstars, and to the Launch Incubator, if you want the ultimate hack for getting into one of these accelerators, literally send David Cohen from Techstars the Envision link. Send Sam Altman or Gary at Y Combinator and those guys, send me the Envision link, and then we'll be like, wow, you are so far ahead of the curve. You sent me the entire prototype. A prototype is worth 1,000 words, and that's why we use Envision. In fact, I'm doing sales calls right now because I'm trying to find some big partners to do like inside drones, and I send them an Envision link and say, hey, here's what it looks like for the month leading up to when we launch it. Twitter, Airbnb, Evernote, Adobe, everybody uses Envisions. Envision is literally the standard for prototyping, and it's, oh wow, they're going to give away the starter plan for free for 90 days to our listeners. Go to envisionapp.com/twist, envisionapp.com/twist, envisionapp.com/twist. If you have a vision, please use Envision. I just made that up right there. That's not their tagline or anything. I'm just freestyling. All right, my guest is Kayvon Beykpour. Kayvon Beykpour. You can find him as KVZ on the Twitter, KAYVZ. That's his hip-hop name. And he is, of course, with Periscope, which is featured in the App Store by Apple, which is no easy task. Do you have an Android app yet, or are you just iOS snob?
We're working on it.
Still just iOS snob.
Says the guy pointing an iPhone at my face.
Exactly. My battery's dying here. No, I mean, the state of the art is really to do iOS, perfect it, and then go do Android, correct?
I think you see that as a common path for developers. I mean, it kind of depends on what you're doing, right? If you're Microsoft and you're releasing Office on mobile, then it probably behooves you to release it at the same time on as many platforms as you can. But if you're a startup and you're trying to find your identity and what your product is, then I think it behooves you and your users in the long run to figure out what that product looks like and develop it on a platform that you can develop as quickly as possible and perfect to the extent that you know what you're building when you start developing onto the other platform. So for us, that was building on iOS, and we'll have an Android app soon. So when we went to commercial break, we were talking about a very simple product choice that I think is important, which is when you're responding in the app, when you're using Meerkat versus Periscope, if I respond in the app to chat and I'm like, hey, Jason, or what's up? It then tweets it automatically on my behalf on Meerkat, which of course creates more social awareness and
buzz, but it also kind of floods your stream and makes it kind of noisy. Periscope doesn't do that. If you're in the app and you're chatting in the Periscope app, you're not syndicating to Twitter.
Right.
You decided to give up the growth and Meerkat actually gets growth from that. How did you make that decision, and how do you go about making those decisions on a product
level? I can speak to how we went about our decision. We didn't think of it as a cost balance between growth and anything else. We thought about how we wanted the experience to look and feel, and we thought that when you're in a Periscope experience, the comments should exist within that experience. It just felt right to us.
Yeah.
I can't speak to why Meerkat made their decision. I think that there are a lot of benefits for them to what they do. Obviously, like, if you syndicate every comment to Twitter, there's a lot of visibility. It's also simpler architecturally because you have one less subsystem you need to worry about, right? Like, they literally just piggyback on Twitter for everything outside of the video, and it's super simple for them to do that. We personally don't think that the comments should exist on Twitter because there's a risk that they become spammy. There's a risk that there's less context to what those comments were. But I think
there's a risk that the users don't know, because I don't think a lot of users understood they were tweeting when they're in the app, and then they find out and they're like, "Oh my God, you spam my feed." It kind of feels cheap.
I can't speak to why.
Well, I can. I mean, it feels like a little bit too aggressive, I think.
I think some users like it.
Yeah.
And some users don't.
See, well, the thing is, what if I want to have, it's interesting, while I was doing that, the hearts went off the charts.
Really?
I think people who are Periscope fans, particularly like the fact that this chat over here inside the stream is different than the public one, because it is two different contexts. I might want to really interact with the stream host, but not really want to interact with mine.
I think we all definitely have conviction around the fact that if a user is aware of the fact that their comments are being syndicated, that will change their behavior.
For sure. Now, what's the heart thing? Explain the heart concept and why.
So when we were building Periscope, one of the things that we were very self-aware of is that being a broadcaster is hard, right? Very few people are predisposed to being good performers, right? Not everyone has your charm and your abilities to entertain an audience.
There you go. Got the host on.
You got to make it feel good, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to come up with a mechanic that made broadcasters feel like they could feel their audience in some way. Like, do they like what I'm doing?
Sure.
Some sort of validation. And also for viewers, give viewers a mechanic where they could express to the broadcaster that they like what they're seeing. The hearts felt like a really simple way of doing that, right? You tap the screen and sends a heart. The more you tap, the higher they flutter and fly. It just felt like a really charming interaction.
It is cute. I like it a lot that you can put the hearts in, and then the hearts drive the leaderboards.
Sort of. So we don't have an explicit leaderboard. What we have is a people section where we suggest people for you to follow, and we order that list based on people you don't follow who have the most hearts. That's what we do right now, and it felt like a reasonable way of sorting people who you don't know in your graph.
How important is the archive? I know Fred Wilson, the venture capitalist at avc.com, was talking about, hey, the archive's what's important here. But it's like, wait a second, it's a live streaming service. Why is the archive important? Is the archive important or not? And are you storing the archives, and how does that work?
Well, I mean, it seems like what he was saying, I haven't actually read his post, but it seems like what you said he was saying was it is the most important thing. I wouldn't go that far.
Well, he said he can't stop his day to watch all these things. He's a busy person, obviously.
I'm sure he is.
Very important. Chamath, not so much. Chamath is like jumping on every stream. Obviously, that shows you which VC actually has the work ethic there. But...
So the reason why we came up with the replay is the synchronicity problem with live broadcasting is hard. You might have a bunch of adoring fans who just can't stop what they're doing all the time to watch you.
Yep.
But, they would love to have a chance to experience what that broadcast was after the fact.
Right.
And so our first prototype of Periscope didn't have a replay. It was just live broadcasting. If you missed it, you missed it. And we kept hearing from our beta users, I was in a meeting. I really wanted to see the content. I get that it's like this ephemeral thing, but I kind of just want to see the content. And so we tried the replay idea, and it worked well, but we were like, it's just kind of missing the pizzazz a little bit. And so we built into the replay the hearts and the comments, because at least if you're watching the replay and you see those hearts and those comments, you're getting as much of the live experience as possible, except for the fact that you can't really affect the experience.
It's actually kind of an interesting moment in time, too, because you get to see, how the audience reacted to certain things, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I think without the hearts and comments, the replay is weird, because the broadcaster's reacting, and you're like, wait, why did he just respond to Chamath? And I'd have no idea what he was saying.
Okay, this has...
Are we doing another sponsor here?
No, not yet.
It sounded like a transition.
It's not a transition. You'll know when it's a transition. Now, this is just perfect. perfect, like the new Tesla Model S. No, we have 2 sponsors per show. We don't need to have a third. Tesla Model S is pretty sweet. Every time these streaming things come up, it becomes a bit of a fad.
These streaming things
come up. It becomes a bit
Every time one of these podcasts come up, they just like...
Well, and that's a very good analogy, because the podcasting was kind of faddish, and it came in and out of vogue, and then something happened where podcasts now are commanding.
Flourishing.
They're flourishing, exactly the word I was looking for. And this has happened multiple times with the streaming. Ustream comes out with something, Quick comes out with something, Justin TV, whatever. Is this going to be the time it sticks? And if so, why?
I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not sure. I just know that we're really excited about the concept. We think the world needs something like this. And we've got some ideas that we're really excited about. And I think that the groundwork is there for us in the sense that the technological tailwinds are with us on mobile networks, on software, on hardware, finally, whether it's an Android or an iPhone. We have the capabilities in these devices to make an experience that's beautiful. And I don't think that was the case 2 years ago, not to mention 7 years ago. And I think that alone goes a long way, because we could have had this idea 4 years ago, and I think we would have, even after tinkering with things, we would have been realistic and self-aware about the fact that, okay, this is an idea, and this is an idea we're excited about, but like, we just can't build this right now. With this product at this time, I think we think that it's possible. I think our V1 is something that we're proud of using. And sure, there are bugs and things that we think we can make a whole lot better, but I think the capabilities are there. So whether it sticks or not, a lot of things need to happen for us to determine the law. It's easy to look at 4 days of growth for us and like make opinions and predictions, which a lot of people are prone to doing in the press, or for that matter, towards Meerkat. But I think the reality is, like, this is going to be a long-term effort for any company that is in this space. Because you can't, there are no overnight successes, right? Like, no matter how many downloads we have in the first week, we're not distracted by the fact that this is going to be a long-term effort.
Is this a generational thing? Because one thing I noticed is that the older generations are very nervous doing video, live video. Now, we've had FaceTime out for a while. People are getting used to that. Young people do video on Snapchat all the time. And it seems like younger people are much, much more comfortable with being on video. I know my generation, the Gen X, 40-year-olds, late 30s, they kind of were like, yeah, maybe a little bit. And then it seems like the Gen Y people a little bit more. But this younger generation, the connected generation, Generation C, as people refer to it, are they like super into this in a way and more comfortable with it? Is it generational?
I think it's too early to make generational observations based on actual usage. My personal opinion on this is that that's an intuitive observation to make. Yeah. But if anything, I think the interesting thing about what we've tried to build is that Periscope there's so little in between what you're doing and like the experience that we've built that I think is actually less stressful and anxiety inducing for people who otherwise aren't prone to using a Twitter or an Instagram, because it's literally just the camera. Like, you're looking through the camera, like your UI is the camera, and then you see stuff floating on top. And like, Al Roker is not like my generation, but he was broadcasting himself like getting a shave at the barbershop, and a number of other people that I never have expected to use a product like Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, for that matter, have felt comfortable using Periscope, because you have things like the hearts. You have these little mechanics that make you feel more comfortable as you're just doing something that feels really natural, which is just holding your camera and letting people see through the lens.
All right, now what about the issue of most people have nothing to say? So they do 1 or 2 Meerkats or Periscopes and live streams, and then they kind of run out of steam, and they don't really have a lot to say. And then people who are professional broadcasters, they obviously have studios or equipment, and they do like post-production, all that kind of stuff. Do you see the podcasters coming down to this level? Because I see a lot of them playing with it. And if so, are they creating like supplemental content, or do you see this as like a bridge for somebody maybe to become eventually like a proper broadcaster? Like, is this going to be like going to create the next generation of podcasters?
We've never thought of Periscope as a professional podcasting tool. If that's your niche, I think there are better tools for that. Yeah. If you're a professional broadcaster who's an anchor on CNBC, there are better tools for you as well.
For sure.
I think we think of Periscope more in the context of a traditional consumer. And by that, I mean, like, it might be, a family friend periscoping their daughter's first footsteps to the extended family around the world, or it might be someone who happens to be in Ferguson or in Tahrir Square or in Taksim Square in the midst of monumental, newsworthy events. And I think there's a lot of things in between that spectrum that are not necessarily professional situations like this. I think that's where Periscope can be powerful because it's so simple and it just lets any number of people step into your shoes for a little bit. So maybe you have professional producers, whether it's a podcast or whether it's a TV setup or something, or maybe it's a celebrity who, frankly, already can attract an audience through existing tools like Twitter, but they do it through a different medium. I think that's all great, and that can happen on Periscope, and it's really exciting to see. But I think what this empowers that's new is everyday people who can now share what they're seeing with an audience.
See, I don't know. I have a feeling you're going to have like the Vine kind of situation where, yes, you'll have, Chris Sacca will do a Vine about something or whatever, but then you're going to have King Batch doing like made for Vine content. He's the number one Vine person. King Batch, B-A-C-H. I think you're going to wind up having Periscope stars, like people who specifically are good on the live streaming format. So, I don't know. I think Robin Williams dies and somebody just pops out their phone and it's like, hey, I want to talk about this. And they're just really good in the moment. It's almost like a pop-up, very timely, like news kind of function, or just responding to what's going on in the real world. I think you can have these kind of people, like an iJustine type, who becomes like
she's very on Periscope.
I'm sure she is. And I think like someone like that could be, because they have a major audience. God, it could be a really amazing opportunity on a advertising basis as well. So how do you guys think about monetization, advertising, and that kind of stuff?
Monetization is the furthest thing on our minds right now. That's how we think about it, or lack thereof. I think we have enough conviction around Periscope being a sustainable business that we know that if we can build something that is exciting and people love using, that we can support it in the long term. But we're just not thinking about that right now.
Now, why can't you turn on both cameras, the front and the back, and do picture in a picture? Have you tried? You must have tried that. It just doesn't work sustainably?
I don't want to, we've thought about it in the sense that it's like, hey, this would be pretty cool. At the time that we looked into it, it was not possible. Maybe something has changed to make that possible.
Yeah, Apple doesn't really make it possible to turn both on natively.
Well, it's just a difficult technological problem to be feeding both inputs in.
But by the way, the hearts went crazy when I said turn on both and do picture-picture.
Well, everyone just wants to see your face.
Everybody's going crazy. Well, no, I mean, it's an interesting thing. We're having a conversation here. Why can't the bottom half be you, the top half be me, and then we stitch it together? Now you got a two-camera shoot. It opens up a world of possibilities. This is obviously on your roadmap. When is it coming out?
Well, it's not obviously on our roadmap.
Oh, come on, man. I'm a poker player. You look at you. You're like laughing and they're turning red.
I'm laughing
I know
because this is comical right here.
I can see what's going on. No, come on. This is how many? If you there's 43 people watching right now. Of the 43 people watching right now, how many people want to do split view front back? How many people want to just go ahead and tap the screen if you want him to make that the next feature they work on? Okay, we're going to do the product roadmap right here. If you want the next feature, it must be on like 15, 30-second lag, but if you want the next feature to be front back, I want you to heart right
one
now.
Heart. Two,
well, that's one color means one person.
Yeah.
So they're going to town. Well, that's Robert Scoble right now. He's going crazy. Thank you, Robert Scoble.
It could be two people who.
It could be two in the same color.
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be the killer feature.
You think that's the killer feature?
I do, because one person is kind of boring, and I think the ability to have different.
You want talking heads on the screen, basically.
Well, no, not just that. I mean, here's the thing. When you're doing sportscasting, so I'm, if my daughter was playing and, I wanted to share it, and boom, I'm talking, I would want to be the little sportscaster in the right-hand corner and be explaining what's happening. Or let's say I was fixing something and I needed help, and I was like, hey, everybody, I'm trying to fix, this thing in my garden, and I'm holding it, and I'm saying, hey, look, I'm talking into it, and I'm,
But when you're watching, like, if you're watching ESPN, some tennis match, do you want to see John McEnroe's face in the corner?
Well, specifically not his, but no. But there are instances where, if you've ever seen Japanese TV, where they specifically will have.
That's all I watch.
Exactly. And if you watch their game shows or talk shows, they specifically have like an audience panel here. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's very, very clever. And I think that is going to be the killer feature, because you want to see multiple people. And then what would be really amazing is if the audience, or you could put in multiple streams together and somehow stitch them. So if I said, I want to join with Ryan at Product Hunt and do a Periscope together, I could invite him and bond them together. So now what about that? That seems to be an easier task. Instead of 2 cameras on one phone, 2 phones, 2 accounts, stitch them together, and me and you do a Q&A. That must be on the roadmap. When is that coming up?
It's May 22nd.
Thank you. See, now you know how to play the game. The next feature is May 22nd.
Yeah.
We ship it. Right now, there's like some poor iOS developer who's like spitting out his coffee. Did you hear what he said? He's in the HipChat room right now, changing the Envision designs. No, seriously, that would be, you could do that a lot technically easier, right?
Yeah, I mean,
on the server side,
we could do a lot of things. Except for, I do think that the multi-camera input is not something.
That's a hardware issue. Like the processor can't handle both.
Yeah, just I'm not sure if that's a feature that you can do on iOS. But anyway, to your point,
you'd have to jailbreak it. You could do it on Android, yeah. But what about this? Like, you pair on the server side 2 accounts together and stitch them.
I think the question is, like, we can build a lot of things. We just need to. We want to focus on the use cases that make Periscope great for the majority of our users. Yep. And I think that there are a lot of tools. Once you cross into the territory of like multiple streams, multiple people,
video switching. Yeah.
There are a lot of tools that do that. I think when you start to get into that territory, if you don't have all the other features that those tools have, it starts to become just an inferior product for that set of users. So,
Yeah, I just think though because
I will say the majority of Periscope experiences that we've had, that we've observed in the last few days, they haven't called for like multiple people synchronizing their input so that they can share their Q&A setup with others.
Yeah, but when people do a Q&A today on, these services, they basically both stand on one side of it and just turn it on and they're sort of sitting next to each other, which is awkward.
Well, what we've seen is that most Q&As on Periscope are just more casual and solo.
That's
true,
yeah.
Chris Hawk on the beach or, someone else just like...
I was in the sauna.
That would be a fantastic place to do a Q&A.
It was awesome. No, your phone will break. Don't take it in your sauna. So now you're in the big company. They made assurances for you that you would be left alone and you could keep developing this. What is that conversation like with the M&A team? How does that go?
The sort of operational thesis is we are running a startup with the resources of a bigger company. So what that means is we have our own product, we have our own identity, we have our own engineering organization and product organization, we have our own office physically.
So do you have to move into the Twitter building? Or
no, in fact, after the acquisition, we moved into a new office that is separate but larger since we needed more space.
So they'll let you. Is the physicality of the space critical for this? You think?
I think that's a subjective question, and for us, absolutely, it's important. I think that if you're truly building a startup, you need to have your own space. You need to have your own pace. You need to have your own snacks, your own, everything. Just
a little culture. Yeah,
the culture is really important, especially like we've gone through an acquisition before. Like we know what that growth process is like, and how much the culture and everything changes. And I think if you just take a group of 5 people in a startup and put them into a 4,000 person company, things change really quickly, and you don't necessarily get to focus on that startup mentality in the way that it deserves.
And what's the story with like big media companies and celebrities? I see all these celebrities getting into it. How do the celebrities wind up getting into it? You have like a special team, or does Twitter say hey, can Ellen use this? Or somebody knows their social person, or they just randomly discover it?
Well, I mean, now that the app is live, it's fair game, right? Like all kinds of people who we never expected, just Deadmau5 found Periscope and was periscoping the delivery of his McLaren yesterday. That was a complete shock to us, and it was awesome to watch. Prior to the launch, we started with friends, and then family, and then investors, and friends of friends, and friends of investors, and we were just really fortunate because I think people liked what we had built, and so it spread, and we had a lot of help from enthusiastic supporters, whether they were friends or investors, or people like Chris Sacca, who was extremely helpful in getting...
Yeah, no, he was right up on me. He was like, hey, I saw you did a Meerkat. Have you seen Periscope? I was like, no, I don't know what's that about. I was like, oh, I'll check it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we just were really lucky because we had built something and people wanted to talk about it to friends.
Conspicuous consumption always like a very big thing for celebrities. Like, hey, check out my McLaren. Did you see that? Speaking of like celebrities and acting bizarre, did you see this Jay-Z video streaming service?
I saw Jay-Z announce something.
Title?
I didn't look into what title was, but I saw the headline. Tell me about it.
No, they just did a video where like they literally had 20 stars on stage. It was like the Super Friends or something. It was like an X-Men crossover episode or something where they like, it's like, wow, the Avengers and the X-Men on the screen at the same time.
Was it like the launch of airtime? Just
unbelievable. It was like Kanye West, Rihanna, Alicia Keys, Jay-Z, Deadmau5, whatever, just everybody, Madonna. And then they were all like, yeah, we want you to like declare your independence and be part of Tidal. And then they all signed like a declaration and they were talking about this revolution. And they're like, yeah, it's $20 a month. And I was like, who's producing this? You didn't even show the product. And it's a revolution in what, like $20?
I think
doubling my streaming bill?
I think whatever you're launching, if you don't show the product.
I was like, pro tip, show the product. What's your background? How did you wind up doing this? You're not your first startup, obviously.
My co-founder and I have been best friends since 4th grade. My co-founder's name is Joe Bernstein, and we've always loved building things. We started building computers. We started playing video games. We started teaching ourselves how to code. And kind of just continued that through college. I mean, I also happened to study computer science, but we both kind of decided that we wanted to build things not just like casually anymore. So we started a company while we were both in college. And, that was like right around the time that the iPhone had been released and the App Store was announced.
Yeah.
And one of our projects that kind of got us on this track, I guess, was we thought it'd be really cool to build an application for universities. At the time, like I was at Stanford, and it was really hard to use all these like university systems, like course registration and searching the campus map and searching the campus directory. We had these like awesome iPhones that we could do anything with except interact with the university. So we built iStanford, and iStanford was like your university in your pocket with a really beautiful design and just access to all those systems. And that company got acquired by Blackboard, big ed tech company.
The big ed tech, yeah, they do management systems for schools.
So we became the mobile division of Blackboard and
very good.
ran that.
Did Steve Jobs sue you for doing Stanford?
He did not. They were actually very supportive of us because we were the first education app on the App Store.
Basically. He had a thing about that eye. He never liked when people took the eye from him. And then like the iWatch. It's like, why wouldn't you call it the iWatch?
Well, we got away with the eye.
I don't know why I guess it must be somebody else who has the iWatch and they don't want to infringe on their trademark. So listen, continued success with this.
Thank you.
The product's exceptional. I play with it a bunch. It's really stable. It's really cool. And I think it's going to be hugely successful. And congratulations, obviously, on getting acquired by Twitter. And I guess Jessica did that deal over there. She's that...
Jessica has been in corp dev at Twitter for a long time. And
a long time.
Yeah, 6 years, I think.
Yeah. She's she's like this unsung hero there who just... closes deals. Like, I mean, serious power broker.
She's the best.
She is a serious power broker. People don't know like who she is, and just like I see her like buzzing around all the different events, checking things out, and then buying these things before Facebook just even knows about it. Yeah. What now? Hey, when you get this interest from Twitter, do you immediately go to like, hey, Zuck? Did Facebook have in the running?
I've never met Zuck.
Was Facebook in the running? Did Facebook say, hey, what's up?
We are not commenting on that.
Okay, so there was a couple of people interested.
Didn't say that. You said that.
There had to be a couple of people interested. I mean, you have to do your diligence. Now, Google's an investor.
Here's what I will say.
But if Google's...
whether or not other people were interested, it was very clear. Well, we had no interest in selling the company, one.
Right.
And two...
That was not your intention.
No. And two, like, if there's any company that it would make sense in any way whatsoever for us to be acquired by before launching our product, Twitter was definitively the only one because of that alignment and vision. Like Twitter's vision is our vision.
It's real time, yes.
Twitter's vision is to be the pulse of what is happening around the world. Our vision is to be the visual pulse of what's happening around the world.
God, I think you saved them like maybe 2 years in this regard. It's a brilliant acquisition for them. And then Google's an investor. Google Ventures, you said.
Was an investor in
now, doesn't that like Google Ventures is like whoop, whoop, and they just like press a button like, oh my God, this is going to get acquired. How does that work when
you mean in terms of the Google relationship?
Yeah. Like, how does that work with Google? Because I know they say there's a firewall there, but they must be like, hey, do you want to talk to the Google M&A team?
No, there's a firewall there.
There's a firewall there.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. See, I know there's a firewall there because Uber's an investor too, and they claim all that. But
no, I think that if you're going to responsibly start a venture fund that's supported by a corporate entity, like you have to figure that out. And they're a fantastic investor. MG is our partner there, and
MG is fantastic. Best. But he's in London now.
He moved to London.
Skipped
recently.
town.
Yeah, I mean he's got his feet. He's plugged in.
All I see is his pictures. He's just like gallivanting.
And his
around Europe.
periscopes.
That is pretty amazing, though. Like MG Siegler, who is just like a TechCrunch writer, goes to Google Ventures, and then he launches Google Europe. That's a BFD.
I think.
Do you think it's a BFD or not?
I think it's a BFD. If
KVZ.
KVZ. It's Caves.
It's KVZ on Twitter, baby. I love the KVs. You
Whatever
prefer
you want.
KVs?
You can call me whatever you want.
What do you call it? KVs?
Caves.
Caves. Is that what your friends call you? What are your friends?
That's
what's your
what
nickname with your
two of
friends?
my friends call me.
Caves.
We used to play video games, and that was my handle.
Caves.
Which is why when I created a Twitter account in 2000 and whatever.
Did you tag up a lot of trains on the 1, 2, or 3 line? Did you go to Brooklyn and bomb the rail
Can't you
yards?
tell? I'm like a total graffiti tag type.
It is a pretty good. It's your Iranian name. Yes, of course it's
Iranian.
Iranian. Iranian is the wrong way to say it. Iranian.
Yeah.
Are you Persian or Iranian? And what's the difference?
It was called Persia until 1935, and then changed to Iran. I think whenever you're talking about like culturally, people say like Persian, but like where are you from? You would say Iran. It's like the cultural description would be like Persian heritage, but like.
But you were born here.
I was born in San Francisco. Yeah.
But your parents immigrated.
My parents were born in Iran. They moved here when they were
78.
They moved here in 77, 78, right before the revolution. They moved.
They got a Dodge.
They were very lucky.
Scary, huh?
Yeah. And
I play poker with a lot of Persian guys.
Yeah, are they good?
Persian guys are legendary at poker.
Legendary. I like that.
Well, I'll tell you why. They're very much like Russians,
Where are we going with the Russian analogy?
I'll tell you, they have a joie de vivre, a love of life. Mm-hmm. And I think poker and, being at a table with a bunch of guys having fun, like it typically is a, kind of scene in LA. And
Televangelist.
Exactly. And they're just great people with a lot of joy and love and appreciation of life is the way I would say it, which I also see in the Russian people when I met them in Brooklyn when they all immigrated to Brooklyn. And, I think that people who had like a serious thing when they saw like, hey, gosh, we have to get out of this place because we're being persecuted and prosecuted and all kinds of things. They really appreciate life, right? And I see great entrepreneurs, Farshad and a bunch of other entrepreneurs I know from the industry who are also Persian. They have a relentlessness to them and a joy about which they build their business. I don't know if this resonates or not.
I think that I would attribute much of my interest in this space to my dad, who's, I think, just a fantastic entrepreneur, and the motivation and the spirit and the passion. And so I think that a lot of that is definitely cultural.
Did he have to give up everything and then start over when he came here?
My dad helped his dad migrate his business from Iran. And so I think that a lot of his sort of entrepreneurial background came from just a super young age, being a part of that process, like way younger than I was, just needing to, and he spoke English almost fluently, whereas his dad didn't. So he was kind of like running the shop when they were here.
Got it.
So I think that's kind of where he got it.
Yeah.
And just being around that, I think I had an appreciation and an interest in that mentality, I guess.
It's got to blow your parents' mind to see you sell your company twice, one to Blackboard and then one to Twitter. How do they reconcile all this?
Well, I think what I've learned about being an only child is that my parents would be proud of me no matter what I was doing, which is why they're great parents. And I
took the bus today. Woohoo!
Right.
Congratulations.
But yeah, they've
must be blown. Come on, they must be like their minds must be blown at this. Like,
I think they'd be pretty happy. They're pretty happy.
All right. Listen, this has been great. It's great to have met you as well, Kayvon and
KVZ.
Caves, and everybody go ahead and download Periscope. It's Periscope Co on Twitter, periscope.tv on the web, and if you just type Periscope into the App Store, you just go to like hot new apps. I think you're in the top 1, 2, or 3. Congratulations on all the great success. Congratulations to my friends at Twitter for once again, they're just crushing it on video. I think they're going to become the video. I've been saying this for over a year now. They are going to become the video juggernaut. I mean, I called it.
It was you. I mean, I think they probably just listened to you and decided to build the features. That's probably what happened.
Well, that does happen sometimes.
You should be a product advisor.
No, I'm a pot star. But the truth is, if you think about, this is the thing about that why you're brilliant to build it off of Twitter, not Facebook. Here's the difference. Celebrities and important people in the world log in to Twitter. And they live on Twitter with their fans, whether it's Madonna, or whoever, Ashton Kutcher or LeBron James. Like, these people literally know how to use Twitter. They use it. They have fun on it. They don't log into a YouTube account. They may have one. There may be somebody who does King James or Carmelo Anthony's YouTube channels, but they're not responsible for that. That's like a post-production thing. Somebody does it in the home office. And that's where the magic comes in for video for Twitter, I believe. And so they have Vine, Periscope, and native video from the app, and then they have the professional video, and then have the video network. You put all that together, and you look at someone like Ellen, Justin Bieber, Ashton Kutcher, Lady Gaga, Kesha, Katy Perry. You're talking about tens of millions of followers each, and they could interact with them.
Right.
And they know how to use the platform. It's like taking the place where they interact and then layering in video. There's a video place over here where they don't even know how to log in, and God forbid you were interacting in the comments on YouTube. It's the worst. That's like one of the circles of hell is literally the comment section on YouTube is horrific. So that's where I think you're going to see these celebrities. And if Adam Bain gets monetization to work for video and he got monetization work for everything else, then all of a sudden, if they start splitting revenue and, Ellen is like putting her clips on Twitter and making, $100,000 a week, that's real cash. $5 million a year. Maybe she makes $10 million a year, $20 million a year.
I think
on Twitter. I think she will.
For all the reasons you said, it's an exciting future, but I do think that in the interim, you have to build something that people love using. And I think it's still early for all of those things, right? Vine has been out for a while, obviously, but Twitter video is very new. Periscope is very new.
All very new. Yeah, you guys got a year before the ads start popping in, I think. Seriously.
So we got May 22nd for your other feature idea and a year
when you
for the
stitch
ads.
Them together. I'll tell you what, I'll give you to, let's just make it July 1st. You just pop that out in the third quarter.
Cool. Give us another month and a half. Love it.
Listen, great product. Congratulations.
Thank you.
It really, truly is
Thanks
a great
for having
product.
me.
And thank you to producer Jackie for getting us these amazing, timely guests. Thank you to Bryce, my chief of staff, and Jacob, my amazing, amazing director, for getting me this beautiful microphone and making the show perfect. Luke and Matt keeping the cash register ringing. John on the ticker. Adam, Andrew, Hank, everybody on the Inside.com team. And
thank you to MailChimp.
Nathan, MailChimp.
HipChat.
HipChat. No, MailChimp sponsored the program. The monkey from MailChimp and HipChat and Envision and everybody. And we'll see you next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.